and First Officer Paul Marshall from Wells arrives to prepare for his first flight of the day to Paris. It's the busiest time of the day in the crew room at British Airways, where pilots and first officers are busy with flight plans, weather charts and loading details.
Next door, we've given them a dummy fuel 36.
Right.
Paul and his captain Mark are scheduled to fly 2 round trips to Paris Charles de Gaulle during the morning. But today there's a big problem facing them.
The French refuelers are on strike. So ordinarily we would refuel in Paris, but because they're on strike we've got to take enough fuel to get to Paris and back, which causes problems because we've got a very high passenger load this morning.
It means their Embraer jet will be very close to its maximum takeoff weight. So Paul and Mark have to work out their expected fuel consumption in the finest details.
So unrestricted on flat 9 takeoff 1.
Have you got the figures all around?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh, hang on, I have.
There's another one there.
I lie. Hang on.
Out on the tarmac, the Embraer is being fueled for the trip. Working out how much will be used is not just about the time spent in the air. Enough has to be loaded to account for being held up over Paris waiting for a landing slot.
We're going to go out to Bravo Golf. It's on stand
16.
We have a slot this morning, which is...
Of 43.
In fact, today's margins are so close, they'll be just 33 kilos below that vital maximum permitted takeoff weight. And that after the crew have also taken into account the runway length, the current weather conditions, the wind speed and direction, and the air temperature. Before the passengers arrive, Paul and Mark are busy carrying out the first flight of the day checks. It means they cover every inch of the aircraft, both inside and out. While Paul checks the controls, Mark looks for any damage and possible leaks. If it's a cold morning, he'll also check for any icing which could affect their aircraft's takeoff capabilities. But today, it's the fuel calculations that are vitally important.
Autopilot.
More has to be added in case there's a diversion to another airport because of fog or any other problem at Charles de Gaulle. And on top of that, there's even a further contingency to cope with any other unforeseen circumstances.
One of the big things is, as a crew, we're very keen to get off on time, and we do achieve that. And I have to say this because we're very proud of this at Bristol, but we are the most punctual base for British Airways in the UK, and 8 out of 10 of our flights depart on time. So that's quite a record, and so we're very keen to try and keep that going. We have quite a lot of pride in our base, so that's what we're after doing. And I think everybody's happy then. If we get away on time, we get to destination on time, then the passengers are happy, and we're happy because we go home on time as well at the end of the day, because ultimately it affects everybody. It's not just passengers, it's affecting its crew as well, and it has a knock-on effect because aircraft aren't just doing the Paris today. This aircraft will go on once we get back, hand over to another crew. The aircraft will go on and do further sectors. So we want to keep the whole thing running as best we can. So kicking off this morning at 6 o'clock, our cunning plan is going to affect everybody else throughout the day.
As it turns out, their calculations are spot on, and BA 4082 takes off perfectly on Bristol's runway 27 at a precisely calculated speed of 135 knots. Meanwhile, it's the start of another patrol for Airport Safety Officer Jim Callaway. Jim and his colleagues maintain a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week watch on the whole airport, from the perimeter fence to the tarmac.
You can see the engineer's been working there, carrying out some service or maintenance work on it, and obviously there's been an oil leak or some oil spill. That's a hazard that we're going to control straight away. We'll apply some degreaser to that and get it sorted, make a note of it in the book.
As he's about to sort out the oil problem, Jim sees something.
Right, in fact I have spotted a possible hazard here. I've just noticed that the aircraft is refuelling. The rules are you must have 2 sets of steps at the aircraft. I'm just going to have a word with the refueler about it to make sure that, find out if he is still pumping fuel. If he is, you may have to stop until the rear cabin door is undone. It's usually perfectly acceptable to board passengers or disembark passengers while refueling, or have passengers sat on board while refueling, providing that the 2 main passenger doors are open with steps up to them, and the remaining doors, the service doors, the chutes are armed in a very unlikely event of any problems occurring. Watchroom, this is ASU over. ASU is on stand 2 of the EasyJet. Just to inform you, they're currently boarding passengers and refueling. Stop refueling, the rear cabin door was not open, the steps are at the aircraft. They're now boarding the aircraft and refueling with the passengers boarding over. Watchroom, refueling is complete on the aircraft now, stand 2 over. That will be recorded on an airside hazard occurrence report form, which goes onto a database. The hazard will be raised. My manager will take it up with the handling agent, also the refuelers, and ultimately the airline to advise them of that. Although not a serious nature, but it's something that a code of practice should be adhered to.
Back at the Britannia Airways stand, an engineer has arrived to check on the source of the oil leak which Jim spotted earlier. Its most likely cause is an overfilled oil sump, but it could be a broken or damaged seal, or worse. The aircraft won't be allowed to move until the cause has been thoroughly examined and the problem fixed. Jim, meanwhile, has the task of mopping up the oil before it can do any lasting damage. Because the tarmac is such a busy and sensitive area, it has to be kept scrupulously clean at all times.
A little look at that area there on the ground, reassessed it, and we have to soak up some of the oil. It's not environmentally sound to put down a biodegradable degreaser on it and just simply wash it away. So what I'm going to do is just absorb the bulk of the oil with these absorbent mats that we carry around, which will be put into controlled waste, and ultimately we will make a charge to the airline for the problem.
Watching, checking, and even cleaning up. It's all part of a day's work for the airport safety unit. Britannia Airways were later sent a bill for £100 to cover Jim's time and the materials. With the oil soaked up, the engineer is able to finish his work. Despite the problem, both plane and passengers were able to leave Bristol on time.
The engineer has now completed his work on the aircraft, and now what he's probably going to do now is going to go up to the aircraft, onto the flight deck, to speak to the captain and first officer, tell him what he's done, and before that aircraft is released, they will have to sign a form in what they call the technical log for the aircraft. So it's not quite ready to go yet, not until everybody's satisfied. As the saying goes in our trade, there's no hard shoulder at 30,000 feet. It's quite true, that. The guy there is doing his walk around. There's something else we look out for on the airside safety unit, how people are behaving, how they're going about their jobs. He's doing the correct job. He's just gone around, picked any small bits and pieces of FOD, which is foreign object debris, off the ground. Sometimes little pieces off of suitcases, sometimes baggage labels come adrift. And it's his job to check that the stand is clear prior to the aircraft engine start and push. So imagine it's like two very large vacuum cleaners going over the actual apron area, and one thing you don't want is bits and pieces of suitcase or baggage labels or any other debris that shouldn't be there.
Barrier 2, like to cross runway 09,
You don't just find FOD on the aprons, you find foreign object debris on the airfield as well. This small amount of polythene here, ingested in an engine, could cause a compressor stall at a critical phase of takeoff. This particular aircraft that's taken off is a Boeing 737-300 series, and it's got CFM 56 engines on it. The engine, when it's at maximum thrust, on each of those fan blades, is equivalent to 33 tons in weight. So there's a phenomenal amount of weight on those fan blades.
BA Flight 4082 is on its way to Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport with First Officer Paul Marshall from Wells at the controls.
It's always a great thrill when you're accelerating and you just break free of the cloud and you get a real sensation of speed, especially being up at the front, probably more so than you do in the back. So that's tremendous. And personally, I don't really lose that. I really enjoyed my job, and I've always liked the idea of flying since I was very, very small, since my father took me to look at lightnings on the fence when I was stood around the perimeter fence at RAF Valley on a holiday, so in Anglesey. So it's really a dream come true for me to be able to actually do the job I've always wanted to do. Very, very lucky, very privileged to be able to do that.
Becoming a pilot was a career change for him, since for 17 years he was an airport fireman. But flying was something that Paul always wanted to do, even from an early age.
Would you like a sandwich?
His quest to become a commercial pilot took 10 years, during which time, as well as working as a fireman, he took part-time jobs such as a car delivery driver and working as a home care assistant.
It can be a very busy flight. It's a relatively short flight. We go through very busy airspace, so the workload can be relatively high throughout the whole flight. So we have to work together as a team to achieve the sort of goal of getting the passengers in the aircraft to Paris on time.
Paris is one of the busiest flights, not only for the crew up front, but also for the cabin crew, who have just half an hour at best to refuel the passengers.
Without doubt, there is, boys with toys and things. You're flying a very, very expensive, very complicated aeroplane, and it can move very, very quickly. For example, a couple of days ago, coming down from Scotland, we had a ground speed of 670 mile an hour. So that is really, really rocketing along.
Learning to become a pilot under your own steam is a real labour of love, hard work and hard cash. Learning to fly and gain a commercial licence these days costs over £50,000. But Paul Marshall had a clear plan.
Life being very short, I sort of tried to set up my business plan with a view that I enjoyed it throughout, and it's been sort of my philosophy all along, in that had I not, for whatever reason, say for example I'd have failed my medical, because we have to have a very stringent medical test we have to have every 6 months, me being a little older, over 40, so I have to have one every 6 months. Say for example I didn't pass my medical, then I wanted to have enjoyed the whole process, other than the exams. I don't think anyone enjoys exams.
Just 45 minutes after takeoff from Bristol, Paul Marshall brings the Embraer jet into land at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. The crew's planning has worked perfectly, and there's enough fuel to guarantee their safe return to Bristol in about an hour's time. That leaves one more flight, another round trip to Paris, and another set of checks and calculations.
Before we go any further, just has everyone logged on to CCB and read the up-to-date crew and safety notices?
In the crew room at Britannia Airways, the cabin staff for Britannia's afternoon flight to Palma in Mallorca are being briefed by their cabin manager.
It's going to be quick and very busy.
Today, that briefing is also being watched and noted by Claire White, the company's cabin services manager. At least twice a month, Claire, who also looks after cabin services at Cardiff, joins a flight to check on the cabin crews and the service they offer. Today, Claire is looking for an efficient service as well as one that runs on time. Because this evening, she has another important appointment. Claire is a member of the City of Bristol Rowing Club,
Stop.
and in particular is part of the Ladies Rowing 8.
Up. Roll it down.
With a regatta on the horizon, there's practice twice a week.
Place.
We row Monday and Wednesday evenings and then Saturday mornings. And we're training a little bit harder at the moment because we're doing regattas every other weekend. So it's just nice. Lovely to come out on the water, especially when, you know, when the weather's like this. Because I'm responsible for Bristol and Cardiff, I work on my own a lot in the offices, and I do enjoy the company of coming down, the physical aspect, not so much the mental, even though there is a lot of that with it. It's just a great sport. It's really nice, quite exhilarating, I find. And then every other weekend throughout the summer we have the regattas, which are great fun, lots of partying, working hard, playing hard, and that's just lovely. Well, it's a sport you have to commit to because it's a team player sport. If you don't want to work in a team, then you do aerobics or running or something like that. But when you're racing, you have to give it your all because it's not fair on the other crew members, really. And although we're novice and, you know, we're hardly Olympic standard, it's only fair you will put your all. I mean, the days I work in Cardiff, I have to be up at 6 to get there for 8 to come leave the office at 4:30 to make sure I'm here for 6 o'clock. So that's what it takes. Just to come out and be on the water is absolutely lovely. The girls are great. There's a really good social scene with it. So something I like doing. It's quite a mental sport, really. If you don't concentrate, the stroke goes wrong quite quickly. But it's more the physical, the keeping fit side of it, as well as the mental aspect. I have a lot of that at work. But just coming out and getting some fresh air in your lungs is really, really nice. Nights like this, it makes it all worthwhile.
Back in 1927 is when flying began in Bristol, at the Bristol and Wessex Aeroplane Club. Back then it cost just £3 and 3 shillings to be a pilot member, and just 10 and 6 if you weren't flying. It really was the original case of those magnificent men in their string, wood and fabric flying machines. It was a sport that had glamour and danger in equal proportions, and one thing that hasn't changed is the thrill of learning to fly, even if today that might equally be in a helicopter rather than a biplane. Today's pupil for Bristol and Wessex instructor Brian Rousell is Somerset and England cricketer Andy Caddick.
Well, being brought up in New Zealand, it's helicopters are everywhere in New Zealand. They're a good means of transport, especially into the remote areas down south. So, as a youngster, we used to do a lot of skiing and a bit of heli skiing. So, being involved in helicopters, and I just love them. I just love the thought of flying. At the start, it's quite daunting. I think, and Brian's one of these instructors. He'll let you make mistakes quite easily, and he'll let you rectify them as quick as you can. But he's all hands-on. He's all interested in making sure that you do come out a good pilot, a good student at the end of it. So, which is important, as you imagine. But it is daunting to start with. There are 3 flight controls, and they are very difficult to get hold of. But once you get hold of them, then it is enjoyable. There are things I will do, such as personal appearances, where I'll probably end up using the aircraft to get in and out, because at the end of the day, the road systems in England do tend to take a long time to be used. So the aircraft is a more practical means of doing so. It's another string to your bow. It's something that I've wanted to achieve, and I've achieved it. Now I'll be able to move on from it. That's better. point I am now, which is about just under 60 hours now, so it's the point where you just fly the aircraft. You naturally want to go that way, you go that way. You're not actually thinking about what you have to do. And I think that's when you start to realise that you can fly aircraft, when you're actually looking for something outside the aircraft but still flying the aircraft forward. It's one of those catch-22 situations where prior to that period it was like, oh, hang on, what am I doing? What am I doing? Am I doing it correct? Am I doing it properly? Now it's sort of like, well, just fly it. So it's a means of, it's just like driving a car now. You just turn the corner now. You change gears. You don't even think about it. So the point now it's got to that. But I'm still learning, and you always will learn. I'm sure Brian, I think he's got 14,000 hours under him. I'm sure he's still learning of things and to do with flying. I hate them. Fixed wings I hate.